So when uThermal says he's not feeling it, do not believe him, because he will show up. At least let's hope so. In the top left-hand side from Team Liquid, this is uThermal.
And in the bottom right for Jin Air Green Wings, he is the red Protoss, Trap.
So outside of Creator, everybody else from Jin Air is already in the group stage, if I'm not mistaken.
Singling out Creator like that? Come on.
Come on, what are you doing? We're trying to support these Korean Protoss players, and you're just like, throwing them under the bus over here.
I know. Actually, Creator had that run last year, wasn't it?
Last year? He did have something sometime.
Something sometime.
In the last 8 years of him playing StarCraft, he did win a map once or two.
In the last 8 years, he has been overshadowed by his brethren, because Jin Air Green Wings actually it's just an amazing team. Like,
it's
I'm joking
a great team,
little
so
bit.
Be honest, Creator, right?
Yeah, like Creator can have his runs and can actually have very solid performances on online cups especially, but he is just usually overshadowed because he has Maru and Trap on his side. And yikes! But you're right. Like if Trap were to make it, were to not to make it through uThermal, and that'd be a pretty heavy blow. Certainly the Gemini, who's definitely watching on Twitter. So, I mean, it would be, I think, a very cool storyline, but we also know that uThermal has his own cool storyline. This would actually be his, I think, 4th IEM. So that's so weird. IEM that he actually would make it to the round of 24. So that'd be pretty cool.
Which is crazy as well, because in 3 of them, aka everyone he's made it to, he's been a map score away from going to the playoffs. Every time. It's a tragedy, really, and maybe this time will be his effort if he gets there. But he's up against Trap, and that's going to be tough. The one thing I will say is that while Trap is so good at PvT, uThermal doesn't play regular TVP a lot. He loves to play some mech, he likes to go mech, not even mech that you've seen before, but mech with Thors, are you kidding me? And it just gets a little bit funky in the early stages. And on top of that, he even sometimes, I mean, not in this game obviously, but sometimes he plays proxy, sometimes he'll play mass marine tank. You've got to be really thinking about what uThermal is doing and reacting, because it's not like every other TVP matchup.
You're absolutely right. He does do mech. He has this weird triple factory marine thing as well. I haven't seen him do that in a while, it feels like, but yeah, I mean, will he bring it out versus Trap? That is a different question. I still feel we're going to see those just tank pushes with bunkers, because that seems to be what he's been favoring for this tournament specifically. Trap is going to be going for a Twilight Council open after finally taking out that Reaper. Probe might want to go back. Actually, it's been very popular on Ephemeron to patrol that probe around the 3rd to see a medevac drop. And it's worked out a decent amount of times.
We'll see if it will this time. uThermal goes for a single Hellion. I imagine that's nothing too particular apart from maybe getting across the map to try and reconfirm scouting. He did already see the Twilight though, so let's see what else he's going to build after the Hellion finishes up, straight into a tech lab, so yeah. Maybe just get across the map, try and do something. A couple of Adept Shade by it, or at least the Shades will see it, and they will actually commit into the Hellion comes back to help defend. I mean, that's an extra bonus of having this Hellion here.
Yeah, and they can kind of chase down things as well that try to escape. So in this case, a 3rd Adept shows up. More Marines are on the way, but nothing from that factory because he's building a tech lab with it. So this is getting a little dicey for those SCVs and the natural. I mean, worst comes to worst, he does lose the units. He does pull back the SCVs, but he's trying desperately not to have to do that. Unfortunately, the repair does not work out. They do 2-shot it, and that is going to be 2 Adepts still alive. Trap's control, pretty insane here. This will be the end of those SCVs' lives, but he's got to leave, and now the question is, can he get any scouting? Okay, he does not have to leave. A Stalker actually comes forward. He's getting Blink behind this. He's grabbing a Robo, another Gateway, delaying what could have been a faster 3rd in favor of aggression, and actually uThermal lets it into the main base. It's devastating not just for more SCV damage, but more so because he just got that scout what the starport was doing.
This is actually just the exact opposite way you ever wanted this series to start if you're a uThermal fan, because he's losing so much, and you know uThermal, 1,000 resources lost, all of that for 1 Adept. This uThermal is not thinking much about this game right now. He might even start thinking a bit about game 2, unless these Banshees do miracle damage, which with the shield battery on the way up, a scout may be about to happen.
Ehan timing?
Nah, he just doesn't get there. But I mean, he's already got a shield battery coming up, he's already got an observer coming in, so you have the tools to defend this as Trap, and uThermal needs so much to make this work now. Yeah,
that would have been a perfect timing if it would not have been for the Adepts getting into the main base and getting that perfect scout. That was insane control from Trap. I can't believe those Adepts lived. Like 10 HP. Oh my, look at that. So that's all shields right there. Jeez Louise. It was disgusting. And now the Banshee is instantly denied, and this is just, this just does really feel. Oh, that, yeah, I was actually gonna say, this was not a best of 3 at the IEM, he might have tapped out, but apparently he still does that. That might be the best thing to do, though. Just get rid of that game. An opening like that, when it goes like that, is just, right?
So
like, we
far
watched
behind.
it, he had to deal with it. Yeah, you are so far behind. It doesn't feel good mentally at all. And, well, he readily admitted that this was just, like, him being low energy. And we were hoping that meant that it was actually just the uThermal thing, but he might actually be right this time.
maybe uThermal was actually just telling the truth. He's like, no, guys, can you shut up? I actually am just going to lose in like 10 minutes.
Oh,
like,
no.
Leave me be.
No.
I really hope you can pull this back a little bit. I don't know. What do you do in game number 2? I mean, the problem is it's not like some overarching strategy problem. It's literally the first 3 units of the game did too much damage. And you see this get out of hand now and again in TVP. And it is, you just let them do a little bit too much, a Marine too many goes down, and recovery is so difficult.
Yes, it's something that I think he did consider could, it sometimes gets out of hand like a tiny bit, and that's where the Hellion is supposed to really help out. But
the third Adept was just the spanner in the works.
Even the Stalker coming in to like make sure that it's continued just a little while longer, and then he was trying to go into Banshees and I assume tanks, but that took up time that even one Woodermine could have tried helping out, and instead it was just not really any production. Trap taking huge leaps forward in just the first 3 minutes of that game. Not a great start for our non-Korean here, but I think that everyone knows that Trap is a very difficult opponent. It's just that uThermal's on such a run, but it has gotten real late. He's on low energy. Can he actually bring it back? In the bottom right, as the blue Terran for Team Liquid, he is uThermal.
In the upper left, one map away from joining his Jin-Air brethren in the round of 24, this is Trap.
Kind of looking unimpressed right there.
He's like, come on, dude, I want to play some PvT, not just Micro and Adept. Are you kidding me?
That's, gosh, it's really unfortunate. I think sometimes uThermal would just kind of be like, okay, whatever, let's just go for the proxy, but that's like a little on the nose. I really do think that uThermal has like other builds up the sleeve that he can try and make work. I mean, simply playing safer in the early game to even get there in the first place would obviously be very helpful. We're on Triton here, which does have that ramp in the natural, which can help out. But, I mean, Trap, he's going to have other plans himself as well, and now he just has a huge confidence boost from such a quick victory.
Yeah, there's no way uThermal's going into this game feeling 100% at all. And this probe comes across as the SCV pulled to, of course, help its brother out and to help push that probe away. And the probe just comes through for the Scout. Reaper starts Cybercore first again, so you still have potential for the earlier Adept, etc. As the Nexus will come down. And away we go with the pretty standard openings.
Yeah, very standard. I mean, he microed those 3 Adepts pretty well, but that probe's not going to delay that CC that much longer. uThermal did have a lot of TVPs in this bracket. In fact, it was the surprising 1-2 to Rail that started this whole, was uThermal just, not having a good day? Well, he kind of made up for that, but I think he beat 2 more or 3 more Protosses, and then obviously the TVZ, but then back to TVP. Any frustrations he might have, and we have heard certainly some Terrans, talk about Protoss, everyone talk about Protoss a little bit. They've been tried and tested, and he still managed to come through. But Trap is that next step, and uThermal really needs to, I feel like, just get something, in the early game, like a decent Widowmine shot on the probe line. 5 probes would probably just really help him.
Especially because uThermal's such a micro-based player, and so much of that comes down to momentum, right? You get a good start, you get the good first fight, and on from there, it just goes better and better for you. That wasn't a good start, though. Loses the Reaper early on, and that's uncharacteristic, because actually, uThermal is usually so good and so annoying with the Reaper. Even in the last game, he was pushing probes of Trap around. Like, the Reaper control in the last game was really good for uThermal.
Yeah.
You already lose that, and you're kind of like, oh, come on.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think he literally just did that. He was like, oh, come on. And scratched his head. Yeah, and that Reaper, continuing to live does threaten any more Adepts from coming over, because they know they have to worry about something hitting their own probe line, but as soon as it's dead, this now opens up an opportunity. But uThermal this time does go for the bunker, doesn't just try to rely on Micro again, a Hellion, and maybe that high ground, low ground of the ramp. Now he's going to take this seriously, but Trap now he's like, great, now I actually get to do my build. We don't just win in the first 5 minutes. So it is going to be Blink once again, but the question is he's going to try and actually be aggressive with it, or going to like just that third base. Well, it's not like a really double forge, is it? A single forge.
Yeah, it does a little bit of everything. Some people even play no forge. It's kind of a bit in between, isn't it? A gate and a robo at the same time. Usually you go robo double gate if you want to just sit back defensively.
Right.
But you can go double gate robo. This is like, I'm going to take 2 gateways. And I think what that really means is you're just going to keep on building Stalkers kind of progressively, but also you're still interested in taking a third base because you're kind of building up units, but not as many as you could be if you really wanted to push out and go super aggressive across the map. So expecting that third base soon is just going to be 3 gases. I think the biggest question right now in this sort of build is how many forges do we see? And that really tells how much aggression comes off the third base as well.
Absolutely. 0 forge is going to be a lot. 1 forge probably means macro. Double forge, definitely macro. Like, go back to the definite.
Double forge, building up my walls, my shield batteries. Let's get ready to rumble 5 minutes from now. Thank you very much.
It's double the macro. Raven follow-up to this medevac drop, perfectly placed pylon. Pretty common tactic here. uThermal is going to see it, know that he can't really just surprise trap. Not that it's ever really a surprise anyways. Widowmines are the typical TVP opener, although last minute we had that Banshee that didn't end up working out. And Trap is in position, he's even further in position, seeing it, and now it's one of those things where it's like, well, maybe if I just go like a lot later, he won't expect it.
There's no way he uses this Widowmine drop in the next minute or so, unless Trap for some reason moves out. It's much more likely he pairs it with like a tank push and the Raven somewhere, and then the Widowmines go in. But yeah, he's just going to sit there, because nothing can kill that unless Trap builds a Stargate. And he's not going to build a Stargate and a Phoenix just to get rid of that one medevac. That would be crazy. We did see the 1 Forge, and it is going to be armor upgrade, so it is going to be focusing on those Zealots. And as we get a couple extra gateways in here, we're even going to see an extra gas. So it's not even masses of gateway units. This is going to be teching up, though with the armor upgrade probably into Templar Archives rather than saying time for Colossi, time to get those Colossus up.
You know, it's kind of funny though, like Templar Archives, first of all, fast Templar Archives, actually not, I feel like it's not particularly effective against the pros. But then even just like Templar Archives as the choice, oh man, it feels like it's been out of favor, right? We've seen like more than a couple of games where people just skip Storm entirely. Sure, they get maybe Archons, but yeah, Storm comes in later and later. He does that on a 2nd Forge fairly quickly. All the gas is now taken. uThermal adding on factories. Never actually transferred over onto a tech lab for Stim. He is really mixing things up. Trap's first observer was back at home, you know, scouting that medevac, and then there was a Raven now for uThermal anyways. When is he going to get sight on uThermal style here? Yeah,
not seeing this. The longer you don't see it for, right, the more you build into something you expect is to fight bio, and then it isn't. It's like, ugh, and obviously you can use some of the same tools, but it's usually done a bit differently. I'm really intrigued. When this armory finishes, I really want to see if he goes Thors, because this is the one thing that uThermal has been doing in mech that is so different from like anyone else that's played mech in TVP, and it's not been unheard of in the offseason. You know, TY has done it against Trap, and Trap, by the way, loves to play like a big bust against it usually. And I'm kind of wondering if uThermal does still choose to build Thors here, because it's very rare it succeeds, although if it gets out of hand, it looks pretty good, but then you're kind of relying on your opponent just messing up anyways.
I mean, I feel like that sometimes defines mech versus Protoss, you know, like a little bit late, you don't have the momentum, you don't really, stylistically, you don't just react to it like you would have, and then suddenly, before you know it, it's out of control. But even if you just go for what would be a typical PVT bio thing, like you can pretty much adapt, I feel, and he now has that full scout confirmation on the factories. The first Thor is on the way, as well as Banshee speed upgrade. So a couple of Banshees suddenly a lot more threatening to be able to escape and come back. And literally a couple Banshees coming in now with the Widowmine drop that finally comes in like 2 minutes later. It's going to help with 1 Stalker, not even blink over to the right side, deal with the Banshees too. So far, so good. I mean, 4 probes do go down, and a Stalker, actually. That's not too bad. So the cannon was there to help out. Medevac doesn't even get to survive.
That's actually not a bad use of the Widowmine drop if it pulls the Stalkers away for a moment or so, and the Banshees getting a couple probes, Stalker kill. Because the Banshees now stay alive, and obviously you want to build up their numbers for Hyperfly Rotors, because they can get out of control when there's 4 to 5.
Yeah, they start sniping like everything. There's an observer right over his army, and I'm like, where is that Raven?
It is off on an adventure, maybe
it left.
I think it's maybe off to kind of drop some other turrets, so it's okay, it's literally in the main base. He's actually watching for the observer flying in the main, but he actually missed that a while ago.
Actually, I do want to kind of give a nod to Trap for noticing that he was very intently trying to stop that and able to micro around it. The Banshee's going over the right side again, kind of, they both have missed each other's scouts. War Prism's looking to go in the main. He was already building missile turrets though. I know I saw at least 2 and then 2 more. So some defense against that. And then if he adds like even just 1 Widowmine, it will just KO the War Prism, take that out of the equation. Trap is setting up a 4th base, getting Warp Prism speed. Actually, really wants to utilize this.
Yeah, so what Trap loves to do against mech usually is utilize the Warp Prism ability to kind of go one way and the other, right? And really try and break mech before it builds into that super scary comp. I don't know if that's already maybe timing starting to pass. Second, Robo feels very expensive to then do that with, right? And he also went Storm early in the game, because remember, he scouted mech pretty late here, all things considered. So we'll see. I mean, it may just be that he wants to still guarantee damage in the main base, and knowing that uThermal's probably going to invest in stack defense. That's really bad.
Yeah. As you were saying, when the Banshee count gets high like that, it's like scary to even cannon defenses, right?
Yeah.
And just poking around, making sure you don't expand without his knowledge. But to just fly over cannons and stalkers, certainly a mistake. Not just taking away the potential snipe, comeback maneuver perhaps, or just distraction. It's just map control at all, like scouting of what Trap is doing. Now limited, he is going to be using his tiny mech force, ultimately. I would say it's kind of tiny to move forward now.
He's maxed out.
Actually, no, it's not tiny at all.
Yeah, he is maxed out pretty quickly.
And then it was maxed out, and there's the rest of the army coming forward. No longer just trickles here. Trap is going to try and buy some time with the Warp Prism, and there's nothing to defend the 3rd base, even though Blizzard's in the main.
Yeah.
That's going to start something here, but it's going to buy enough time.
I think uThermal just doesn't even care. I think he knows he's got a pretty good time to go across. He's got a Banshee or so back at home. There are Thors and Hellions building at home, so there's possibilities here. As well, remember this high Templars with Storm. If they hit Hellbats, that's a great target, right? Because those Hellbats can be quite tanky otherwise. Because yeah, this is just taking a little while to clean up, and that's the issue. 25 SCVs down. uThermal has to strike now, and he is going to get between the bases of Trap as he pushes down between the 3rd and the natural, and he finds the disruptors.
Yeah, 2 Banshees finding the disruptors. If this was the 5, man, they're already dead. But just taking out 1 from the equation, it was already a bit questionable. Like, will the disruptors really change the flow of things? But now only 1 available. 2 more on the way. Zealot's still continuing to ensure that uThermal does not have a follow-up plan to this, and Trap is trying to build a better army, waiting for his upgrades to finish as well. But uThermal, I mean, he's now down to 43 SCVs. It's still not, the worst. He's actually trying to rebuild right now. But the army supply of just mech units already in position on your side of the map is quite intimidating.
The only thing I will say is it's only 3 siege tanks, right? Because it's a lot of Thors.
Yeah.
And so the controlling position that you usually expect mech to be isn't quite as strong as usual. So that's, again, I feel like otherwise uThermal would have already been creeping further forwards, but now he's backing away before the flank comes in. It's a great game sense, because if he's still there for this flank coming in, he's in a lot of trouble. He's actually going to fight from top left and top right now, Traps. He's going to go for it. Blinks on in. Storms are going to start joining the party, and now the Disruptors that want to connect onto those Thors, and they will in the center.
Yeah, the Storms don't do a whole lot, but the Disruptors still definitely do. uThermal's actually just going to tap out as Trap takes a pretty swift 2-0. The first game, I don't even think he really got to do what he wanted at all with the Adepts. Second game, he did get to execute a little bit more, but Trap was ultimately prepared. You gotta wonder how much of the series was that momentum that uThermal lost.
Yeah, it's really tough with tech issues. I just want to say that Trap, when that game ended, had like 2,000 minerals and 1,000 gas in the bank. He was ready for more fights.
Yeah.
So uThermal was very committed, and I think rightly so. Maybe he feels a bit early of a GG, but he lost so many SCVs earlier, etc.